Good day, everyone. Welcome to LitCrit Decrit podcast, where we talk about all things critical in literature. I am Jai.
And I am Anna, and we are your hosts. So sit back, relax, enjoy our adventure in the world of literature studies today.
Hello. Good day, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the LitCrit Decrit podcast by 3EM's Group 1.
Yes, welcome. We are very glad that you are here today, tuning in with us while we explore the vast world of literary studies. But I think we are forgetting something important, partner.
What could that be? Hmm. Oh, yeah, before anything else, since it is our pilot episode, let us first introduce ourselves to our valued listeners.
Yes, that's right. So to keep the ball rolling, I will start. So once again, hello everyone. I am Anna Carmeline Garcia, a third year pre-service teacher in the USC College of Education, taking up bachelor's degree in secondary education, majoring in English.
And yes, hello again. I am Jaira Emanuel Bilog. Likewise, I am a third year pre-service teacher in the same university, college, and program. So in other words, I am classmates with my co-host today. And we are actually doing this podcast as a partial fulfillment of our requirements in one of our major courses, which is, yes, you know it, literary criticism.
That's right. Now that the introduction is out of the way, let's get down to business. So, Jai, what are we going to be talking about today?
That's a great question, Anna. So, in this podcast, we are going to talk about literary criticism in general. And in today's episode, we are going to discuss what literary criticism is and its significance in the development in the reading and writing macro skills and in teaching literature. So, without further ado, Anna, what is literary criticism?
Okay, Jai. According to Waitner's Sparr Library, literary criticism is an analysis or interpretation of literature through various literary theories and approaches. The goal of literary criticism is to be as structured and objective as possible in analyzing text. This is the reason why literary theories are used in literary criticism. Although criticism is mentioned, literary criticism is not about reviewing and finding faults in the work, but rather it is a rich analysis and interpretation of the prose of the literary text.
That is right. Furthermore, among these various critical approaches that we use are the common ones, which include Marxism, which focuses on the inequalities in social classes. We also have feminism, which involves the analysis of the gender aspect in the text or selections. And new criticism, which gives emphasis on the being self contained of literature. And aside from these, we still have many more. And we also have structuralism, post structuralism, we also have reader's response, and etc. So, as mentioned, these are just some of the many approaches that we can use to explore, analyze, and interpret literary works. And with this, we do not only explore the different angles in literature, but also acquire new ideas by extracting these works through these approaches. But due to time constraints, that will be for a different episode.
Oh, and Jai, did you know? Although literary criticism is mostly referenced during the 20th century, its modern impact began in the Renaissance period, when it was rediscovered from fragmentary manuscript sources and taken as a rulebook for literary composition. On the contrary, its existence dates as far back as the ancient Greece era, where Plato, Aristotle, Horace, and other Western philosophers have already been talking about it. Specifically, it was Aristotle and Horace who was said to have put it into practice. Aristotle proposed the idea of poetics as his main form of literary criticism. According to Aristotle, Literature can be logically understood and can be analyzed by a set of rules. The parts of these rules are plot, character, diction, thought, melody, and spectacle. Through these rules, critical evaluation is possible. While Horace proposed ars poetica, an argument for poetry as a craft. According to Horace, the art of literature has rules and conventions, which requires both instruction and practice. The concept of art suggests a practiced mastery of craft, systematic knowledge of theory and technique, capacity for objective self-criticism.
That is right, Anna. So now that we have enough information about what literary criticism is, let us now proceed to the next part where we discuss its significance in the different learning experiences of people. But before that, let's have a short break.
So now we're back to our program.
Welcome back to our dear listeners.
So, in this segment, we are now going to talk about the significance of literary criticism, particularly in the development of a person's reading and writing macro skills.
Yes, that's right. And I am delighted to announce that we will be having other people who will help us discuss and talk about this matter. So, that said, let us welcome with virtual applause our group mates, Za, Laika, and Hermie.
Welcome, everyone. So, before we start, would you mind introducing yourself first?
Hello everyone, I'm Hermidia M. Cruz.
Hi everyone, my name is Serena Bernardo.
Hello everyone, my name is Laika Bautista.
Okay, so let us cut to the chase, shall we? So, what do you think is the significance of literary criticism in the development of one's reading and writing skills? I mean, does it contribute to language learning or something like that? I mean, why and how is it important?
Well, as the saying goes, to read is like a journey in a vast ocean. Literature allows its readers to think critically, and Aristotle understood the importance of literature and art to perform a moral function. The literary text offers a window to the world, wherein literary criticism provides a broader spectrum of understanding literature. It is significant, particularly in writing, because it allows its readers and critics a better understanding of literature through close readings and contextual insights, and becomes a tool for the reader to understand what the literary work is about and what message will be delivered to the reader.
Oh, so what you're saying is a literary text, in essence, is part of the world. Reading literature not only fuels the imagination and expands vocabulary, but it also offers a guide on different styles.
You know, Anna, I agree with you because I think that reading a lot of materials in literary criticism helps students widen their perspectives and vocabulary, which can help them in their writing. So it strengthens its readers' ability to think logically and creatively and gives them a new insight that helps develop their writing views.
Yes, both of you are right. Let's say in the case of E. E. Cummings, if you had encountered one of his poems, you know that he truly sets himself apart from other authors because of his use of different types of structure to add more interest and creativity to his poetry. The form and structure in his poem are different from other writers. He has choppiness in sentence length, different use of spacing and punctuation and shape. And one of the examples of this is his poem entitled Me Up at Dusk. And you could see that Cummings chops up the sentences to add more feeling and depth. And this further adds more impact to the thoughts and feelings of the characters written in his poetry. However, many literary critics are baffled by Cummings' poems and state that the technique does not fit in with the other poems and just proves that Cummings' poetry never really matured. And also, the literary criticism analyzes his poems' graphological, lexical, and semantic deviations, themes, and stylistic features. Therefore, literary criticism improves our reading capability to understand broader literary work. The reader learns to focus on structure, uh, history, philosophy within the literary work. Literary criticism also helps teachers deliver the lessons digestible enough for students to assimilate in their minds quickly. It enables the students to appreciate literature, understand it, and view it in different perspectives and lenses. This shows the transactional relationship between a reader and the text and emphasizes the two-way relationship between text and readers. This shows where students use their schemata or prior knowledge and personal feelings to help them understand the work and improve their comprehension and interpretation of new information. With this, a critic plays a vital role in doing studies or analysis of literary work. Applying, applying criticism makes our focus on a particular aspect or element of literary work. With this in mind, reading various literary criticism helps students have broader interpretations and learns to assess the different styles, structure, idea organization, character development, and more. Thus, it enables them to develop their own technique in writing and develop their views.
Wow, that was a profound answer, and it's truly impressive, right? How about our other guests? Do you have something to say in support of what Hermie just shared?
Yes, I agree with what she shared. Just like what they say, reading is essential for those who seek to rise above the ordinary. This implies that reading is reading gives access to whatever has been discovered by others. This is the reason why literary criticism entails knowing various things, because it helps for students to read, since books are great sources of knowledge. Aside from gaining a broader perspective and new knowledge, it helps students exercise the different types of reading. And most importantly, it helps them develop a genuine love for reading and express it in writing. This is why I believe that literature is so fascinating, for it is always up for interpretation and could be 100 different people. So it is never the same thing twice. As T.S. Eliot wanted us to always remember that its purpose is to turn blood into ink, as well as the belief of the American businessman P.T. Barnum, who is famous for saying that literature is one of the most interesting and significant expressions of humanity. Hence, we can dare say literary criticism is the evaluation of literary work. That's it.
Moreover, with what like I said, speaking of T.S. Eliot, he also says that it is just the literature that we read for amusement or for purely pleasure that we have the greatest and least suspected earliest influence on us. And so, reading influences our thoughts and perspective in life. This allows us to learn, unlearn, and relearn concepts and we live with. Indeed, reading is beneficial in different domains, the cognitive and affective domain, as we may not recognize it. And through literary criticism, students become more critical in their reading, which could help them become more critical in absorbing information, even maybe find ones that would satisfy them and their principles, beliefs, and values. At the same time, it helps students express their insights in informed, justifiable, and logical way. They use their critical thinking in formulating paragraphs they need. to deliver the explanation since literary criticisms involve research, right? Other than that, to quote Dr. Seuss, he tells us that the more that you read, the more things that you know, and the more that you learn, the more places you'll go. That said, reading helps us in different ways. It is a venture for people to be creative and flexible, which allows them to imagine and think. Lastly, to quote a famous English essay, Francis Bacon, he tells us that to read is not to contradict and confute, nor to believe and take for granted, nor to find, talk, and discourse, but to weigh and consider. This means that when we read while applying a particular literary approach or in general, it helps students become more accepting of different lessons, at the same time skeptical and smartly questioning of accepting new information.
Very well said, Ja. That's right. With that, I think we're good to go. I think that's it for this segment. Thank you so much, Ja, Hermie, and Laika, for sharing with us the significance of literary criticism in reading and writing. When we go back from our short break, we will be talking about the significance of literary criticism in teaching, so stay tuned, everyone.
We're back. Welcome back again, everyone. So, Anna, do you also think that as would-be language and literature teachers, literary criticism has a significant role in teaching literature?
You know, Jai, I think so too. I think literary criticism is important for us to provide and maximize the benefits of literature to our future students. So, that said, in this segment, we will be talking about the significance of literary criticism in teaching literature.
Yes, you are right. And to talk about that, we have Sai, one of our group mates, to discuss it with us. Without further ado, let us welcome him with a virtual round of applause.
Hello, Sai. Please introduce yourself first before we start.
Hello to everyone. I am Cyril Silva, currently a third year student in University of Santo Tomas. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so to cut to the chase, let me ask you this question. Why is literary criticism so important in teaching literature? I mean, what is its significance in language learning and literary teaching?
I think that one of the fundamental reasons why teaching literary criticism is paramount is because it develops the critical ability of students while also serving as a guide for criticism itself. Albeit critical thinking can be developed through other means, having an objective metric like a Marxist or feminist approach is different from just having any type of arbitrary way of analyzing literature. With the framework of literary criticism, we can have a baseline or guide on how we are going to analyze the literary work. Not only will this improve our critical thinking ability, but it will also serve as a guide for us to know what aspects we are going to focus on. Like in a Marxist approach, we can focus on the inherent inequalities present in the story. And in a feminist approach, we can analyze in the context of oppression of women. In the context of language learning, the act of analyzing literature through literary criticism stimulates the pedagogical concept coined by Edward Thorndike as the law of exercise. The act of analyzing literature serves as a practice for the students to learn a particular language. With this practice, students can accelerate the pace in which they learn a language because not only are they practicing a language, they are also doing it in a complex and a high-level way. In essence, literary criticism helps students in language learning by the act of stimulating the law of exercise.
I totally agree, Sai. I also noticed how the two fundamental reasons you presented correlates with Benjamin Bloom's levels of cognition. Specifically, the concept targets levels of knowledge and comprehension, which effectively establish students' learning of the literary text, Knowledge can be related to having an objective metric, while comprehension can be applied towards the pedagogical concept and law of exercise. Through this process, students will be able to proceed to a higher level of thinking skills. Other than that, what's the next reason, Sai?
I think the second reason why teaching literary criticism is important will be predicated upon pragmatism. The idea is that the academic system inherently relies on literary criticism as one of its topics. It therefore follows that a teacher must possess in his toolbox the knowledge of literary criticism. Being ignorant of literary criticism will surely affect the quality of the pedagogy of the teacher as they are limited in knowledge.
I agree with you on what you just said because what you've shared with us is actually a great reminder for us would be teachers to take our studies seriously because in order to teach our students effectively and successfully, we as teachers need to be equipped with sufficient knowledge and experiences that we can share with them. So this isn't just about literary criticism, but it's about education in general. So as they say, you cannot give what you do not have. And in the context of education, you cannot teach what you do not know. So anyway, what else?
The third point is that literary criticism helps broaden one's perspective. Analyzing literature through literary criticism will not only improve the critical thinking ability of the students, but will inevitably broaden the perspective of the students. With different styles of analyzing literature comes different perspectives and angles to look at literary works. With literary criticism, students will be able to see the nuances associated with literature and subsequently broaden their perspectives.
That's interesting. The point you mentioned covers an important aspect of students' development towards modern literacy, particularly broadening the perspective of students through literary criticism. It equips students the appropriate literacy to thrive in the globalized world. Hence, the third point enables students to participate in solving current social discussions. What about you, partner? What do you think?
Wow, can I just say that we had an insightful discussion here about literary criticism, especially in the context of teaching literature. So with that, thank you so much, Sai, for being with us today and sharing your knowledge about literary criticism in teaching literature.
You know, time flies because we're already at the last part of our first episode, don't you think, Jai?
I think so too. So to conclude, let me ask you, Anna. So, what have you learned, or what are your key takeaways from our episode today?
Honestly, I've learned so much today. A lot of our discussions were able to clarify some topics about the significance of teaching literary criticism. Literary criticism has a direct impact on students' learning development. Thus, it is paramount that pre-service teachers construct an effective progression towards students' critical thinking, allowing students to broaden their perspective and understanding of the globalized world. I remember a quote from Victor Hugo, which is to learn to read is to light a fire. Every syllable is a spelled out is a spark. As a pre-service teacher, it is important for me to provide my students with appropriate reading materials. Generally, it would allow students to find a better purpose and interest to write their literary criticism.
Wow, that's nice. I agree with you. And well, for me, I realized that literary criticism does not only help us improve our language skills, especially in our reading and writing experiences. Well, the benefits that we gain from literary criticism are more than that of enhancing our skills and competence in dealing with the different literary pieces we encounter in our academics. I mean, it transcends. It is more than what we think of it and what we expect it to be because, it also helped helps us improve our way of thinking in general by being critical and logical thinkers. Especially now that our society needs more of those people who don't just absorb information at face value. Like, we need to be smart and critical in dealing with certain situations in our life. And to add, I remember a quote from Bryant McHale, who is an American activist, who says that one of the most important things one can do in life is to brutally question every single thing you are taught. And this quote applies to everything in our life, not just the lessons that we learn from our school. So, doing so will help us avoid and prevent problems that can be caused by misunderstanding and misinformation. So, always remember this quote from Pearl Chu, uh, a corporate global executive, where she says that it takes critical thinking to frame the right problem and empathetic thinking to address the correct need.
That is truly amazing, partner. So I guess that's a wrap for this episode.
Unfortunately, yes, it is. Thank you for tuning in with us. Once again, this is Lit Crit Be Crit Podcast signing off. Have a nice day, everybody. Bye.